Is this on? We are rolling. This skirt is so full. The camera lens is filthy. Excuse me. Clean you up a little bit. Let's do that again. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello to you wherever you are. My name is Delilah. If you are new here, I make motherhood and homemaking content here on my channel every single week. Normally in my videos, I'm sharing some kind of cooking content or cleaning content, but today I am sitting down with you. I'm gonna fold some laundry and we're just gonna chat a little bit because I've been seeing a lot of repeat comments and DMs recently. And so instead of trying to respond to each and every one of those comments individually, I thought I would answer those questions here. So let's just sit down and get comfy. Let's grab some laundry, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a snack, and let's chat. The first question that I've been seeing a lot lately is, why did you stop wearing pants? I think a lot of people assume it has a religious meaning or there's a religious reason behind it, but that's not the case for me. It was just a matter of I didn't fit into my pants during the end of my pregnancy, and then postpartum, I still don't fit into my pants. So for me, it was mostly a matter of just finding something that I felt comfortable wearing, finding something that actually fit me. So towards the end of my pregnancy, pretty much all I was wearing was dresses. And then immediately postpartum, obviously I couldn't fit into any of my old pants, and so I was just continuing to just wear dresses. I tried wearing pants a few times in the last little bit, and I just don't like it. I didn't like how restricting they felt. I didn't like the way that I looked. I've always struggled to find pants that fit me, especially during pregnancy and postpartum and all the changes that my body's gone through in the last number of years. And because I can never find a pair of pants that fit me right, I never feel confident in myself and in my body. But I've noticed that since wearing dresses and skirts, I feel so much better about myself. I never really even think about the way that I look because I just feel comfortable and I feel confident. And so for me, that's really the biggest reason. I've given away pretty much all my pants. There are still a few that I've clung on to in the case that maybe I will fit into them again and maybe I will enjoy wearing them again. If I would have told my younger self that I would be wearing dresses and skirts daily, I would have laughed at you because I never would have believed it. As a kid, I hated wearing dresses and skirts. Like, I was kind of a tomboy as a kid. I despised having to dress up for church and having to wear a skirt or a dress on Sundays. Another question I get asked often is, what does Zach think about my style change? Hi.
Hi.
People have a question for you. What do you think of my new style?
From like how you used to dress to how you now dress?
Yeah, like, do you not like it? Do you like it?
I do really like it. It's very pretty. It's modest. It is nice and like sexy.
Would you rather I wear pants or do you don't care?
No, I'd rather you wear what you're comfortable in and what you feel confident, because confidence is sexy.
Okay.
No, it's very, I do like it. In all seriousness, it's very pretty and I like it. Could say more.
I think it might get a little bit sexual if you keep going, so maybe we'll just stop right there. I just finished filming the video and realized I completely skipped over a question that I've gotten a lot recently, and that is, how do I budget my wardrobe? How do I find pieces that work? And how do I afford it? There are a lot of pieces in my wardrobe that are on the expensive side. I'm here to tell you that you do not have to have a big budget in order to do that. I'll be the first to admit that some of those clothes have been sent to me. I do work for them. I don't just get them and not have to do anything about it. Like, I work for them, but I don't actually have to pay for some of them. I get affiliate links from some companies, and other companies have been so kind to gift me clothing in exchange for content. However, I have purchased many pieces in my wardrobe myself.
Hi, Mom.
Hi. Can I help you?
No.
No? I can't.
I just want to see what you're doing.
Oh, I'm just almost done filming. What are you doing? Okay. I have a very small wardrobe. I wouldn't classify myself as a minimalist, but my wardrobe definitely errs on that side. I'm someone who doesn't like to have things in my home or in my closet that doesn't make sense for me, that I don't reach for because it's just taking up space and it's taking up my time and my efforts and energy, and it's not worth having in my home. And so I am constantly decluttering, and very often if I take something into my wardrobe, I'm gifting something away. So that's one way that I'm able to have a nice wardrobe with more expensive pieces, is because I don't have a lot of them. I've also been building my wardrobe very slowly over quite a period of time. It's not something that just happened overnight. I didn't just go and spend thousands of dollars on a new wardrobe. And I am someone who is very prone to impulse buying, which is why I've actually started to thrift less. And interestingly, I have saved money by buying more expensive clothes than by thrifting most of my clothes. Not to say that I don't thrift, because I absolutely do still do that, and I strongly believe in that. I especially do that for my children's wardrobe, and if ever there's something that I need or my kids need, I always try and thrift it first. But I know for myself, it's often better to actually shop online. A lot of the time I find that if I'm buying something from the thrift store or something from a more affordable shop, then I don't end up wearing it for a long term, because it was kind of just a spur of the moment decision, and it wasn't something that I really truly thought about or really even wanted, and I didn't spend a lot of money on it in the first place, and so I don't really care about it anyway. But if I'm gonna spend money on a piece, I'm gonna be sure that that piece is gonna stay in my wardrobe for a long time, and that I actually really truly do enjoy that piece. I find that spending a little bit more on something that's really good quality, that I'm going to actually truly take care of it and think about it before I purchase it. If I have my eye on something and I think it's gonna fit really well into my lifestyle and into my wardrobe, I will put it into my cart, and then I'll just leave it there and just think about it. And every time I'm kind of scrolling through my phone and it pops up, and I'll look at it and I'll think about it. A lot of the time I realize after a month or so that I don't actually need that. But if I've had something in my cart for a couple of months and I still want that thing, then I know that that's probably a good way to spend my money, and that that piece is probably going to stay in my wardrobe for a very, very long time. And it's happened a few times to me before, where I'll have something sitting in my cart and I'll be thinking about it, and then it goes on sale. And so that I end up buying a really good quality piece for an affordable price because I waited. I think sometimes people see my wardrobe, or they see me tag like this brand that has expensive clothing, and they think I just spend all this money on clothes, but that's really not at all how it is. I'm really intentional with my wardrobe and what I bring into it. Okay, I've gotten tons of questions about room sharing. How do we transition into room sharing? Why do we room share? I am personally a huge fan of room sharing, especially when they're young. When they're older, we do plan to have the basement renovated and hopefully have them each in their own room so they can have their own space. But right now, while they're young, we actually want them to share a room, and they want to share rooms. Pretty much their entire lives they've been sharing rooms, so it's kind of all that they know. When we were living in our old house, we only had 2 bedrooms upstairs. Obviously, one room was the master bedroom, and then the other room was the kids' room. So for a while, it was Eloise's room. But then Theo came along, and around 6 months of age, he started sharing a room with Eloise. And it was a little bit of a transition, because obviously Eloise wasn't used to having Theo in there. But because they were so young, I felt that the transition was really quite smooth. I thought it was going to be a little bit tricky with him not fully sleeping through the night, but fast forwarding a few years to when William transitioned, he was a year and a bit when he transitioned into from the nursery into sharing a room, and it did not go over well. It was a much harder transition because he was older and he was more used to being by himself. So if you want to have your kids room sharing, I highly recommend transitioning them when they're younger rather than when they're older, because when they're older, they're just a lot more used to what they know. And it takes longer to transition. But when Theo was not yet sleeping through the night, he would wake up throughout the night Sometimes Eloise would wake as well, but because she was so young, she got used to it and learned how to sleep through it. But eventually he did start sleeping through the night, and they just learned how to sleep really well together. And then because they know how to sleep really well together now, it makes traveling a breeze. We can all share the same hotel room, and it's not challenging to get them to go to sleep because they're already used to going to sleep together. And I honestly believe that allowing them to room share has made their sleeping so much better. I know sleep is a huge thing that parents struggle with. I mean, we've been there, we're still going through it with some of our kids. Annie's 6 months old, so we've got some sleep things that we're working through, but when they room share, they get used to noises, they get used to being together, they get used to that, and then they get used to sleeping through that. They learn how to sleep through noise. Granted, they do take after their father in that way, so maybe there's a little bit of genetics involved there, but they definitely didn't take after me in that area. Now, when we transitioned William, it was quite a bit more challenging, and I've had some people asking for advice. Maybe it would have been better to have moved him back to his room for a short while and then tried again later on, but we didn't do that. We just kept trying. There were a lot of rough nights. There were a lot of nights that we had to do a lot of soothing. It took a really long time. We tried putting William down first and then letting him fall asleep first before putting the other two down. That didn't go over well for us because William takes a while to fall asleep, and so by the time he'd actually fall asleep, it was really late and the other kids were really tired. We just put them all to bed at the same time. We let them kind of party and do their thing for a little while, and then we laid down some rules. After they've had a chance to play for a bit, we would go in and we would say, okay, now you've had your fun. Now it's time to practice self-control and stay in your bed. We'd let them have the lamp on for a while so that they could read and wind down, and eventually they'd go to bed. Sometimes it's still quite a challenge because they just want to play or they're having a hard time falling asleep. But I think there's something really valuable in having them practice self-control and staying in their beds and being respectful of one another as others are trying to fall asleep. But for those asking for advice on what to do if you're struggling with room sharing, I always say you are their parent, you know them best, and you are the most equipped to make decisions for your children. I've been getting a lot of questions about quiet time as well. What does quiet time look like? How did you transition from naps to quiet time? We're kind of in that transition now again with William. He's starting to drop his naps, and so we're kind of transitioning him into quiet time. And our quiet time has really evolved over the years for us. At first, when it was just Eloise dropping her afternoon naps, I would set her in a room by herself. I would let her pick some toys, and I would say that she could play. She was expected to be quiet and have some time alone. That went really well. She really enjoyed reading books, and so she would just sit in a room and read books or play quietly for a long time, and she did really well with that. Eventually, Theo started dropping his naps. At first, we tried to have them do quiet time separately, but then we realized, why not just have them do quiet time together, and then they can play together and entertain each other. And that just works so much better. So then they started doing quiet time together. At first, we were very strict about, okay, now it's quiet time. You can have quiet time together, but you need to be quiet. It's called quiet time for a reason, you know? Like, this is your time to just kind of rest and read books and quietly play. But over time, that quiet time has just kind of turned into general playtime, and we don't really enforce quiet time anymore. We have found that over the years, they naturally kind of just put themselves into quiet time in the afternoon. Like, we'll usually do our school in the morning, so their cup is full. We've been spending time together all morning. We've been, you know, doing stuff and engaging in play and learning. And so by the time the afternoon rolls around, they just kind of naturally have quiet time on their own. Now William is transitioning out of naps and into quiet time, so he's been joining them in their quiet time, and I will say there have been a few more sibling conflicts because of it. But it gives us and them an opportunity to learn how to work through that conflict, how to play together and work together. On the days when the conflict is just, you know, a little bit out of hand, we will have them separated. So we will put each kid in a separate spot to let them do something quietly and like give them something to do so that they can still have that bit of quiet time, because we've noticed how crucial and important that quiet time really is. But yeah, that's kind of how quiet time has evolved for us, is we just kind of replaced that afternoon nap time with some quiet playtime, and eventually they started doing it together. How do you approach sleep with babies? Do you sleep train? So tons and tons of questions about sleep. I did talk all about our experience with sleep training and what we do. I addressed our approach and pretty much all of my knowledge about babies and sleep in a separate video, which I can link below. At the time I was pregnant and anticipating the birth of another child and thinking ahead to how we might want to approach sleep with Annabeth. It's been really interesting with her because the way that she sleeps is completely different from how my other babies sleep. And that's just the thing, is that every baby is different. They're like, no two babies are going to be the same. You might take the same approach with all your babies, but they will all react differently because they're all different humans. With each child, we've really just played it by ear and made different decisions based on them and their personality and their needs. For Annabeth, she really never hit that like 3-4 month sleep regression. She's a fantastic sleeper. If she is in her own space, she will have the best naps. None of my other babies have been that way. If we're out and about, that's a different story. Cat naps are the way to go then, but at home she naps really well. And then at night we just co-sleep. We've co-slept since the day she was born and it's been beautiful. She does wake throughout the night, but then she just nurses and we both fall asleep together, and it's really not a big interruption to her sleep. It's not a big interruption to my sleep, and we both just get that one-on-one time that I cherish so much. There's really no right or wrong answer to baby sleep. There's no approach that's the best. There's so much advice. Wherever you look, someone's gonna be telling you something different. But again, you are their parent and you know them best. How do you study the Bible and when do you find the time? So if there was a while there where I wasn't really reading the Bible all that much, especially after Annie was born, I was really trying to make the time. I definitely put in more effort this time postpartum to study the Bible and spend time with the Lord, and it made the biggest difference in my postpartum experience. Like, postpartum this time was mentally and physically a breeze, and I contribute so much of that to just being dedicated to not giving up my time with the Lord. However, I kind of did go through a little bit of a dry spell, and so this year Zach and I were like, we want to read through the Bible. We know we need to read more of the Bible and we need to keep each other accountable. We found a plan that goes through the Old Testament and the New Testament, but I think it goes through the New Testament twice, and I think it goes through Proverbs and Psalms twice. We're not just reading one part of the Bible at a time. Like most Bible plans, you start at the beginning and you read your way through. We are reading in the beginning and then halfway through the Old Testament and then beginning of the New Testament and then halfway through the New Testament. And so we're reading 4 different chapters from 4 different sections of the Bible every day, and we're kind of following 4 different storylines, and it's been the best. Like, Zach and I have both been really enjoying this, and it's been a little bit of a stretch because it's definitely more time spent in the Word than I was spending before. It's been really fun to do this together because then we get to also discuss what we're reading together, and we get to like throw ideas back and forth and talk about what's been impacting us. And so I highly recommend finding somebody who can keep you accountable. That makes the biggest difference. I also recommend finding a plan that you really enjoy, or maybe just start reading a book in the Old Testament and a book in the New Testament. Pick 2 books and just read through them. I also recommend not just sticking to only the Old Testament or only the New Testament, but reading them together. It's been really cool in this Bible plan, reading from a few different parts of the Bible at a time, just seeing how they all connect and how further on in the Bible they reference back to these other stories that we're currently reading. and events that happen then. But as for finding time to read the Bible as a busy mom, honestly, I'm just trying to bring my Bible with me wherever I go. Like if I'm taking my phone somewhere, I should be taking my Bible there. Sometimes it's a matter of choosing not to pick up my phone and instead pick up my Bible. Some days I manage to wake up early and I can start reading early in the morning, but some days I don't get to it until right before I go to bed. Actually, a lot of the time I don't get to it until I go to bed, and it's actually been kind of fun. It's something that Zach and I have been looking forward to, is just this time at the end of the day where we're both just reading our Bibles and digging into God's Word. Lots and lots of questions lately about how I manage my time, how I do it all, how I homeschool and work and cook and do homekeeping and all the things. Honestly, this is something that I've been convicted of lately, is how am I spending my time? Am I using my time for God's glory, or am I wasting my time being lazy? I didn't realize how valuable time was until I started having kids. As a young adult and then going into motherhood, I just wasn't using my time well. And so for me, it's been an ongoing journey of learning how to use my time wisely. It looks different in different seasons of life. With a newborn, the way I manage my time looks different. When my children are older, managing my time looks a little bit different. It looks different in winter, it looks different in summer, because there's different things that are required of me. Trying to fill every moment of every day doing something that is going to fuel my relationship with the Lord, or do something that is going to serve my family or my husband, realizing how much time I spend staring at my phone and how that doesn't actually benefit me at all, and how I could instead be tidying up my house. I could be researching something that I need to be researching, or I could be planning school, or I could be honestly just like sitting with my husband, or watching my kids, or reading my Bible. I'm just getting off on a rambly rant now, so I'm gonna move on. Are you not showing the kids' faces anymore? I wouldn't say we're not like officially not showing the kids' faces anymore, but we're really doing our best to not make this about them, because that was never the goal. It was never the intention for this to be about my children. It was always supposed to be my thing. And I always said that once my kids get older, I'm gonna start showing them less and less. And now here we are, they're getting older. They have their own personal private life that is theirs and that I will not share. Honestly, it's been so refreshing not sharing so much of our personal private life here online, and having that just be our own thing. Parenting advice for tantrums and big feelings. This is something we are also navigating, and we also are seeking advice on, and I do not feel qualified to speak on this because we are walking through it, but I can direct you to a podcast and a couple of books that has completely transformed my view of parenting in such a positive biblical way. This is something that Zach and I are constantly going to our Bibles to and seeking the Lord in, doing our best to raise our children to the best of our ability. That is where I'm going to end today's video. I think that covers most of the questions that I've been receiving lately. I hope this video encouraged you. If you have anything helpful and encouraging to say in the comments, please do. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.